Let's continue the today's session with what I believe is a very exciting adventure. This is the story of an ambition, what I'm going to tell you now. And I think I came with this group some years ago, just at the beginning of the creation of the concept, where I present more or less the ideas. I'm going to share you where we are and what we are doing. These days, everyone talks about, we have been talking about China, so China has been the topic, so I decided to put the Chinese wall. But the objective is that with expanding the boundaries of nutrition, what hopefully we're going to do in the next 10, 20 years is we are going to break the walls of the Chinese wall to enter in a new untapped territory, which we call Nestlé Health Science, and creating a new paradigm in the way that nutrition is going to work as a continuum in the healthcare industry to develop new forms of nutrition that will help better manage medical conditions, and I will give you what do we mean. So first of all, let me give you a sense of what do we mean by expanding the boundaries of nutrition. This chart, I could extend in this chart for a long time because this chart might represent billions of years of mankind history when it comes to sociologic, sociographic, and also nutrition. But the main concept I like to mention here is that historically, the evolution of society has been linked with the role that food has played on that. So many years ago, when people were living in the caverns, the main objective of food was to give you a supply. You leave the cavern, you go, you see a cow, you kill the cow, you eat it, that's it. During the evolution of society, the other important moment was this concept of food security. By the way, food security today is back in the discussion, and this is one of the effects of the imbalance of globalization and how things are today being managed when it comes to the future 9 billion population that this Earth is going to have. But on that perspective, the main issue is many years ago, people would like to secure supply. And that's how technology and the food evolution started to work. And let's say 15th century, if you like to have to your resident home, if you had one, and you like to have milk, you need to take a cow with you. Today, you don't need to take a cow. You just go and buy a UHT milk, or in some moments, and this is what this company was very good about, is we were able to dry milk, take waters out of that, put it in a can, and then transport. That's how you create a new business opportunity by moving from the need of survival to the need of securing supply. Recently, and then you go on, then you start looking at food not only about security, but also about pleasure. You like to have, it's not only about yogurt, it's not about milk, it's about different milks, it's not about coffee, it's about different varieties of coffee. And hence, you have the concept that was added that food is also about pleasure. And if these movements in society, in the world, in the history, has created a new opportunity and expanding the business of food and creating huge amount of possibilities in terms of products, in terms of engaging, in terms of companies, and of course, in terms of wealth. Recently, in the 19th century, this was part of my presentation this morning when I talk about the evolution to nutrition, health, and wellness, that the dimension of food as part of a preventing way of improving your health and wellness has been the driving force, and it is the driving force today. And that's how we have been evolving, and we have been saying today that this is how Nestlé is looking today at nutrition, health, and wellness. Nestlé Health Science is about another movement. It's about expanding the boundaries of nutrition to see if there is a role that nutrition could play, not only in prevention, as it's here, but also in disease management. That's the objective of this new adventure that Nestlé has set, and that I hope is going to set us apart as the pioneers in creating a new industry. And I thought it was important for you to give this historical perspective, because this is how we see the role of Nestlé Health Science going forward. Also, the combination of science is key. Technology and science is the key drivers of making any of this movement possible. The fact that today you can know that your genetic makeup will open the likelihood of thinking about the personalization of the offer for you. It's no longer about a group of people, it's about you. By applying biomedical research that we're going to develop in the Nestlé Institute of Health Science, we will be able to assess micronutrients and their mode of actions in human cells, and hence deciding which kind of nutrients and their combination in your body is going to help improving your quality of life when it comes to preventing the evolution of certain diseases in your body, and the role that life and lifestyle and diet will have. I have a quote here of an article that was posted 2 days ago in a very well-known medical review that says that many diseases and conditions that could only be addressed through drug therapies are now being improved by combination of drug-food therapies. Access to and development of medical foods is therefore of enormous potential importance to public health, both because of the potential for improved health as well as the opportunity to reduce healthcare costs. And this was just published the 18th of September. The other important thing, and I was talking this morning, and maybe just a caveat, some of you were saying why nutrition in Nestlé is only infant nutrition, and my point is not. What you have heard is a global managed business, Nestlé Nutrition, who start to be in healthcare and in performance, weight management, and in infant. Today, the main gear is infant nutrition with Power Bar, with Jenny Craig, and we have a span-off. But the role of nutrition is Nestlé. It goes beyond all categories. I was trying to show that this is already affecting all the categories, and the presentation by Thierry Filardot shows that in different units of the company, we are also looking to the same stuff. So yes, the global managed business called Nestlé Nutrition is concentrated, or is more concentrated in infant nutrition than before. But it was thanks to creation of that now we have been able to span off and creating a new company called Nestlé Health Science. So nutrition is far more embedded in the evolution of this company, and if you have questions, we can open at this afterwards. So close this brief digression towards a question that you asked. The other important point is that the creation of a new adventure is very much linked with the vision of this company. So in a way or another, before the creation of Nestlé Health Science, we might have said that we're trying to enhance the quality of life with good food and beverage everywhere. This is what we call the Nestlé Good Food Good Life. Since the creation of Nestlé Health Science, we have expanded the mission and the vision of this company to include that enhancing the quality of life also with nutritional solutions for disease management. That's how one vision, different strategies, and then the structure follows the strategy to create a company that's going to concentrate in creating this new territory, as I expressed you in my previous chart. The facts and the evolution of the world also, in this new reality, as we try to paraphrase, is also working in the same direction. Aging population, this morning we're talking about that. Now we're going to talk about aging population. The fact that in some countries like Japan, there are more older people older than 80 than kids below 5. The fact that the progression of the elder population is going to have a key impact in the sustainability of the pension system, in the sustainability of healthcare, is already a trend, and it's not only a trend, it's a reality in the majority of markets. In 2020, 1 out of 5 people will have more than 65. And I don't like to enter in this discussion because I think you know exactly what we're talking about. But it's not only that. With the aging population, the rising of chronic disease epidemics is today clear. If we don't change that, in 2020, 1 out of 5 people will die from chronic diseases. Sorry, 60% of people, not 1 of 5. 60% of people will die from chronic disease. The WHO code, even the United Nations dedicated 1 plenary session 2 years ago just to discuss non-communicable diseases as one of the big threats for the society today and even more in the future. By 2020, more than 50 people versus the 10 million today, more than 50 million people might have mild cognitive decline or another way of expressing Alzheimer's. And this is something that today there is not solution for that. So we just need to see, could we do something in improving and managing the disease where nutrition could play a role? And the last point is the scientific evolution. Scientific evolution also today is already a demonstration that thanks to the omics, the holistic understanding of our needs, where the solution is no longer, the efficient solution is no longer that one pill, one problem, one solution. But when it comes to chronic diseases, you need to look at a more holistic approach. It's about societal decisions, it's about healthcare decisions, it's about lifestyle, it's about your genes. And there are areas that we can work in order to improve and to find solutions. And again, we believe, we are convinced that nutrition is key for that. So one element is that we need to elevate the role of nutrition, because the potential of nutrition to be part of the solution and not part of the problem, and the potential of nutrition to be a well-integrated part of the standard medical care protocol is something that we believe today is real. When I started this journey in 2011, without knowing exactly what we're going to do, and I think that Wang Ling is going to cover that in some comments afterwards, we didn't know that. Today know that we staff, but there is a potential. And there are 3 things that we need to do. We need to educate our stakeholders on the role of nutrition to achieve better outcomes. That's one element that we are working with the medical community, and we have been staffing our company to do so and working with others. It's not for us, it's in collaboration with others. Building the evidence through clinical and health economics data of the role of nutrition to improve the quality of life, and basically how could we delay the onset of certain illness in the area that we're going to work with, and then creating a value message for the payers on the cost effectiveness. Health economics today is one of the key drivers of any initiative that we're working in our company, and I will give you some examples on that. Since the creation, we have assembled a very strong team. The team that you have here is the team that is leading Nestlé Health Science. All the people here, 50% of these people come from either the heritage of the healthcare nutrition that we bought in Novartis, either they are new people coming from the outside. 50% of these people were not in this company 2 years ago. And basically they come from companies like Sanofi, like Wyeth, like Novartis, Bayer Healthcare, Pfizer, and other companies. And we have been building this team, and beyond this team, there are people today, head of regulatory affairs coming from Mercerono, head of market access coming from Bayer Healthcare in Berlin, head of brain health coming from Eli Lilly in Switzerland, head of aging care coming from Novartis Healthcare, and so on and so forth. And we have also a bunch of new people, around 25 people that have been joining this company, which is going to help us to deliver the future, in addition with the Nestlé Institute of Health Science that I'm going to talk to you in a given moment. And that's also, if you are asking me, what was the most difficult thing to set up, was to create a winning team. And also to convince people that this adventure is a great adventure to leave existing jobs, to come here and to be part of what we believe is a great adventure for this company. We also define our territory. I think some of you that were here when I make a presentation, you might remember this chart. This chart is basically what is our plain level field? Where are we going to work? What are the things that we are not going to do? Because when you set up something new, it's very important that you find what you are not going to do. Because the temptation to open up and to work and to try to do too many things is so huge that you need to have a very disciplined process. And we have been going through a disciplined process on understanding where we could contribute, and the combination of short-term gains with long-term orientation was part of our decision. So we have aging medical care. Basically, we talk about the nutritional solutions that will address malnutrition, swallowing disorders, we were talking about dysphagia before, and loss of muscle mass and muscular strength called sarcopenia. So here we are not talking about the aging of 65, we're talking about people of 80, 85, that they need today, as we speak, that nutrition is part of the way they work and the way they live over the coming years. We talk about critical care and surgery, and this is basically that when you are exposed to surgery and critical care, there is today few hospitals and few activities and professionals that think that they need to enhance the value of nutrition in order to prepare your body, which what it will be a very aggressive thing. Think about chemotherapy. 20% of the people exposed to chemotherapy, they need to stop the treatment because they are very weak. And you need to prepare. It's like running a marathon. If you run a marathon, you need to prepare your body for running that. If you are going to have a very invasive treatment, you need to prepare that. Nutrition is the solution. Nutrition is what you need to do. And it's a specialized nutrition, and that's why we have a platform as we define critical care and surgery, and I will give you an example of that. Pediatric medical care is not only infant nutrition, it's about basically dealing with healthy kids, as we were discussing this morning, and giving mothers and these 1,000 days, how to balance that. But there are also in the world kids that basically they are born with either genetic errors of metabolism, like phenylketonuria, or that kids that basically cannot tolerate cow's milk or even any type of protein, so you need to deliver nutrition without any amino acid. To that point of view, this is where we also have solutions in this area. And this is a great collaboration that the guys of Nestlé Health Science basically is coming from the knowledge we have on infant nutrition. And I think this gives you that in Nestlé, one thing leads to another, and it's just for us to capture the right segment and to find the right model to execute that. Then we talk about brain health. Brain health is basically talking about that we believe there is a connection between nutrition and your ability to keep your brain functioning, especially in some kind of genetic phenotypes of people where they cannot metabolize glucose, where people will say, just in a nutshell, that cognitive decline is basically the diabetes of the brain. And we have investing in a company, I'm going to talk to you in a minute, that we're doing a big, huge clinical trial to demonstrate the relationship between alternative source of energy and through medical food, and basically managing the onset of the evolution of in this case, Alzheimer, of mild and cognitive decline. Metabolic health is an opportunity in the area of diabetes, in the area of type 1 diabetes, and also we were discussing this morning about Jenny Craig, we're discussing about weight management. Here we have a business, but it's not weight management per se. It's basically real obese people. I'm talking about people of 45% BMI of plus. People that because of they are obese, they need to lose weight because they have cardiovascular problems, because they have diabetes. And this is a very, let's say, deep intervention. And this is clinically driven. And it's not just kind of driven by marketing or by advertising. It's basically it's part of a model where dealing with morbid obesity is key in the future. And we have a brand called OptiFast that we are developing and we're pushing now in the US and in Europe. And then the last one, but not the least, this is the first that we start to do an intervention, is gastrointestinal health. Address the unmet needs in managing GI disorders. You know, everyone talks today about microbiome, microbiota, and all these kind of effects, and the trillion bugs that has been created in this baby. How are you going to improve the quality of life? And everything that happens from eating and then going to your stomach is something that we believe we can also play with nutrition in managing autoimmune disease like IBD, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, where, by the way, this is getting more and more people affected by that. Then this is the platforms. Every platform is managed by a responsible, is kind of a hub, and we have marketing resources, business development resources, R&D resources, market access resources. So we work in teams in order to give to this, and we have been reviewing the strategies going forward in the next 10 years around these platforms. In addition to that, medical devices is an area that we need to invest. This is an enabler technology. It's not a platform per se. Something that is going to help us to convey our message and our products. And then diagnostics, because I will tell you that diagnostics and the fact that science today could give you that stratification of a person is an important point to manage the efficiency of the healthcare, and specifically in the case of nutrition. Because of the acquisition we did Prometheus, we now have some understanding of what does it mean diagnostics, specifically in gastrointestinal disorders. And since then, we have taken the R&D part of Prometheus, and we have put them in connection with the Nestlé Institute of Health Science, because the knowledge we have in this company is going to be used to all platform of Nestlé Health Science, working with the guys sitting here in the Nestlé Institute of Health Science that I will introduce in a minute. But we already have a business to manage. This is the heritage business that I was talking to you. This is the combination of the business that this morning I was telling that Nestlé had from the clean tech period of time, and the one that we acquired by Novartis. This is a business around 1.8 billion. We are being accelerating the sales since the creation of Nestlé Health Science, and this business, what is the core of that, around 7.2%. We are ranking 1 of 2 in the top 16 markets in the world. We have today investing a lot of money in CapEx in our factories in US and in Europe to deliver best-in-class solutions. And some of the products that we have today, when someone was telling you that 75% of the innovation in Wyeth came from things that we did, I don't have the exact figure, but probably it's more than half of our investments, thanks to the Nestlé company putting money and behaving on that, and doing a big effort on CapEx to make this a sustainable proposition. And then the last point is that very quickly, when we decided to create Nestlé Health Science, we saw a company in the UK called Vitaflo, who is a high double-digit growth and very high margins, which is basically in the area of inborn errors of metabolism. It's a UK company, it's a great jewel, and we're expanding as we speak. When we started 2 years ago, this company was present only in 3-4 markets. Today, there's already in 11, and we plan to extend this, and we have already initiatives to go beyond in countries like you imagine, India, China, etc., basically going east, which is an area where we believe there is possibilities to develop products basically to help people managing this disease. And I will give you also an example as we go. It's not only that we integrate this business, we put this in the new home called Nestlé Health Science as a separate business, as a separate company. Just to give a sense, a lot of people talk about Nestlé Health Science. Nestlé Health Science is a 100% owned company by Nestlé. In this sense, as I mentioned, I don't report to this building. I report to a board of directors that has basically internal, external people, which basically we discuss. And the target setting exercise are different and are completely different in the way that we set up in order to push this business going forward. We have been innovating in convenient states. Someone was talking about Boost. Boost is a great brand that was acquired by the Novartis Medical Nutrition from Mead Johnson. I think it was Mead Johnson some years ago. We have been able to develop this new packaging that you have here has an outstanding quality in terms of nutrition, in terms of oral supplements, also is beating our key competitor in terms of taste, which is something that we know quite well how to do it. And now we have just introduced some Boost bars in order to deliver the same nutrition in a more convenient way. By the way, 65% of the sales of Boost has the origin in a clinically driven recommendation for a doctor in one place or another, and basically this is US and Canada. Sorry. Then you have also new technologies in the area of medical devices. These are proprietary technologies of Nestlé. This is what we call a Smart Flex. This is a new collapsible bottle. This is the only one that exists on the marketplace in order to deliver the best nutrition for tube feeding in hospitals. The interesting thing is it's not only the bottle and the way you deliver that versus the more traditional glass bottles that you might have. It's also that this bottle cannot be replaced. So as this bottle goes empty, it basically collapses itself, which protects you to be reused, one of the problems that we have seen in the other bottles. And the other point is that this kind of connectors has been specifically defined to avoid one source of problems in a lot of hospitals, which even create death, is that you basically make a mistake and you use an HAV kind of in connector to that, and basically you connect this and you put this directly to your lungs, and then basically you could create a big problem. That's today is something that through the technology we are being able to avoid that. And then in the area of more pediatric care, we have also developed good solutions either to feeding or even in powder products. In addition to that, in the last 2 years, we have been very busy to develop what I at that moment said, building and developing and acquiring capabilities. And this is just a representation of the 4 key things that we have done. You could imagine that behind these 4 key things, we have been screening more than 200 companies in the last 2 years to see which are the companies that either we can partner, taking a small investment, or do some kind of collaboration, or even buy the companies. So what we did is we bought basically 2 businesses, Prometheus in the US, a diagnostic capability in the area of gastrointestinal disorders, and then Pump Labs, which was recently is a US company that is leading in the chronic metabolic and neurological conditions with medical food. And also they have a best-in-class way to, they have a virtual pharmacy which are being able basically to connect and to improve the compliance in US in terms of products. You should know that in the medical, in the drug business, in the medical community, they call what they call a leaky bucket problem. It basically is that out of 10 recommendations of a doctor, only 2 are repeated purchase, at 10 recommendations of a doctor, even in the drugs. By having a virtual pharmacy that we connect directly with patients, we are improving this 2 to 4. Which in our case is key for us to making compliance part of our proposition. Then we make 2 investments. This is a minority investment that we have done in this company called Axera. This is where they are working with a new source of energy called ketogenic diet, with basically for this kind of people that could not metabolize glucose, you give them, it's kind of a milkshake. You take once a day, could be in vanilla flavor, in chocolate flavor. And you take that, and by taking that every day for a long period of time, it will hopefully, and basically we have some data that shows that it improves the cognitive perception because it supplies a new source of energy, which is no longer glucose but ketone bodies, which is basically the new source of energy that you can create through your liver, thanks to the product we are talking about. We are now embarked in a huge clinical trial. We're investing more than $30–40 million into seeing, even to have more effective information that we can prove that in a 480 patient study in more than 60 places in US to demonstrate, even to have more data that solidify our argument. And hopefully by that we will be able to expand this and to develop this as a good, so far it's just a startup. And then the last point, and hopefully it will not be the least, is this Nutrition Science Partners. This is a joint venture with a company called ChiMed, which is an investment, is a spin-off of the Hutchinson Group in Hong Kong, which is one of the leading groups that has presented in all categories. They already decided to invest in traditional Chinese medicine. We were been contacting them because we thought that they have a good solution for the IBD and for ulcerative colitis. They have a kind of molecule that comes from a botanical plant, and we believe this could, in combination with our capabilities in research, we are going to phase 3 clinical trial, and hopefully, if it works, we are going to have a good solution in the area of gastrointestinal disorders. So this is just a demonstration of, you talk about medical food, you talk about supplements, you talk about this, but all within the orientation of science-driven business and propositions. And this is just one part of our equation in combination with the core business that I was talking to you. And if you add this to the existing business, we're talking about business about 2.2 billion this year. Just one comment, even if I am not a scientist, I think I could address this for you, is about the Institute of Health Science. You know, we committed to make an investment around 500 million in the next 5 to 10 years. After 2 years, this institute is already physically in presence in the campus of the University of Lausanne, in the University Polytechnique de Lausanne. Is very much in what it called is the quartier of innovation. We have connection with a lot of different companies. This is one of the most productive places in terms of biotechnology, bioscience, and basically neurological science that Switzerland is invested big time, and we are very happy to be there. We already have 15 laboratories. We have around 110 people, as you can see, different nationalities and diverse background coming from everywhere, with majority of them being PhD doctors. And also we have been able already to make 40 publications and getting 3 grants as we speak between last year and this year. I think it's interesting to see that this Nestlé Institute of Health Science, their mission, their direction, and the deliverables are very much aligned with our platforms. So what you can see here is that they are organized the same way that the company is organized. Their capabilities are totally different. And that's where they're going to substantiate the science. Just to give a flair of what they are doing today, they are already doing a complete micronutrient assessment to support nutrition intervention. They are measuring quantitatively all the micronutrient concentrations in human plasma to understand which micronutrients work with different health and disease status. We are working on predictive disease models to better understand with people with chronic obesity what is the best combination of products and nutrients that is going to change and to be more effective in the way we manage. Which level of proteins, carbohydrates. The idea is not everyone is the same, so if we're able to define kind of a stratification of this group through predictive disease models, we will be able to develop products for this specific area, which will be more targeted of improving the quality of life. And then the last point that we're investing a lot is in the microbiome as the new level playing field for nutrition, both for diagnostics and in specific 2 areas is gastric bypass. You know, bariatric surgery is today one of the key elements of people to reduce, basically to tackle obesity, reducing the stomach. The amount of nutrition that you need to have at nutrition intervention is very, very important, and we're working to better understand how your intestinal flora is affected by this basically invasive intervention that is going to have an improvement in your quality of life, and then what is the nutrition that you need to deliver. And in addition, there is very much work within the GI platform, the gastrointestinal platform, when it comes to ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. Let me give you a sense of 3 stories, what we call that, to show specific examples of what we're talking about. And this is what we call the impact story. This is Immunonutrition in managing the disease. Basically, what you have in your chart, I don't like to read it, you can read it yourself, is what is the disease and the patient need. This is basically that there is high complication, which leads to longer stays in hospitals if you don't prepare your body correct, either before the operation or after the intervention. And Immunonutrition Impact is the only product that has real clinical validated data that demonstrate that you can reduce by 2.3 days the length of a stay of a person in a hospital, and hence reducing the cost of 2,000 Swiss francs only in Switzerland if you apply the protocol of using Impact in critical care and surgery. That's a very promising thing. It's a double-digit growth product. It's a double-digit, as you would imagine, good margins and good perspective from that. And this is basically one example of how nutrition could help improving not only a quality of life by basically helping the whole healthcare system. And the majority of this product is reimbursed by the social security system. And we have been able even to increase the level of reimbursement for tier 3 or tier 2 to tier 1, I don't remember exactly, in France. And you know France is not an easy market to have even higher reimbursement. But thanks to our quality of data and the progress of this product, we have been able to do so. The Meritent story is a different story. This is how could we create a more consumer-oriented benefit for oral supplements and nutritional supplements for adult kids. This is basically is that either older people, they are deficient, they have deficiency in terms of appetite, in terms of illness, aging, or convalescence. You need to deliver them a specific nutrition. This, you could do it through clinically proven products like Meritent or Boost, and then you can do it following more a kind of OTC model or a kind of more medical food model. We have decided to take this approach, for example, in this case in Spain and in France and in Italy. And what is interesting is, so far this business was growing double digit in a country like Spain, and this is paid by the consumer. This is not reimbursed. And we do advertising about that. So you can see how this is combining our capabilities in brand creation, in consumer-centric, by always thinking about solving a medical issue, in this case, improving the quality of life or maybe the nutrition intervention of kids or even in older people. And the last story I'd like to share with you is what we call the PKU story. PKU story means PKU milphenylketonuria. For those that you know what it is, basically is 1 out of 5,000, 6,000 babies in the world are born with an genetic error, which is basically they cannot metabolize an amino acid called phenylalanine. Guess what? All the food that you eat is plenty of phenylalanine. All what you have eaten today is plenty of phenylalanine. There's no problem, because basically your body metabolizes that, extracts that, and it goes. If you have a baby that cannot do that, you cannot expose this person for normal food, because the phenylalanine not being able to be metabolized goes up to their brain. And what you see here is a real example of 2 kids. One was both diagnosed PKU, one was not treated, the other was treated. They are siblings. So that's exactly what would happen. So you see how nutrition is part of a medical condition, and in this case is clearly what we call medical food. This is something that has been developed by Vitaflow, and is a great product, is a great combination, great solution, and we are now pushing for developing this as a golden standard in some developing countries, because this is already the case in Europe and US, but it's not the case in some countries, and we believe there is a potential to do it so. And the concept is that when you have this genetic mistake of this is error of metabolism, and this is not only PKU, it's others also, you cannot change this for life. And unless you need today a specific diet till the brain is formed, which is basically between 14 to 17 years of age, then it doesn't matter, because then you're not going to damage your brain. But under that, and that's why you see that even we develop forms of these kind of things that you take on the go to make nutrition, even medical nutrition, interesting, on the go, affordable, and also helping people to have the better normal life, and not create this concept of, you are a very rare person, you are not normal. The question is how to do that in a normal way. Another element I would like to share with you is that innovation for us is key. And basically because we are creating something new, because we are working in a new space. So what is our innovation model? And without entering too much detail, because we prefer to keep some of this, because we believe this is a unique model, the concept I like to mention to you is our model is a holistic model. We have said that our model is the combination of diagnostics, drugs, and nutrition. So we're not excluding everyone, we're just including our way of thinking. So first of all, you take diagnostics as a key tool. If you talk about Crohn's disease, you diagnose Crohn's disease, you understand what is the best way to deal with that, and I will give you an example coming from Prometheus in a minute. What is the right level of drug administration for this autoimmune disease that is going to stay forever in your body? And by making the prognosis and the understanding of what is the best dose of what is the best product, you play this with diagnostics. Then, of course, if it's the case is very severe, you need a drug solution. But people have not thought through is that it's not only about that. Nutrition could help in improving what we call the remission period. Nutrition could be a part of a solution in order to improve the bones of a kid, because these drug interventions are very, very severe. And there are even people, if you have a very severe Crohn's disease, you might not even get pregnant because the medicaments that you take are so strong that could even be affected the future of your baby. That's the kind of extreme. So by using nutrition, we could combine this concept of that DX, RX, and X is going to be a holistic approach. And we are today doing clinical trials and a specific study in one category to demonstrate that. It will take 2-3 years, so we are not going to come back to you probably in 2016, 17. And of course, it's not clear how successful we're going to be, but we believe this is a great element of the future. And how do we do that? How this model is unique? Because we always start with the person. Is our origin. Our origin is a fast-moving consumer goods. We play in a new territory, but we understand people, we understand brands, we understand the leads. We don't look at the molecule, we look at you. And this is just to give you an example that in GI, and this is just a reproduction of a diagram, but basically we take what we call the patient journey. From the person starting to have the first indications of a problem and how this goes to the solution. And then we try to identify in all this kind of patient journey, what are the unmet needs? And how could these unmet needs, is this unmet need something that nutrition could play or not? And if the response is yes, which kind of nutrition? And how are we going to enhance that? And then the same thing is which kind of clinical trials we're going to do to demonstrate to the healthcare professionals that this makes sense. That's, for example, a way of our innovation road as we are doing today. In the case of Prometheus, just 2 words. Prometheus this year has launched 2 kind of tests called Answer IFX and Answer ADA. This is just a test in order to test the level of antibodies in people from Crohn's disease provoked with a drug. Because if the level of antibodies is going up and you don't control that, and the product is not efficient enough, one of the problems is normally the doctor will give you a higher dose. He works in blind. He gives you a higher dose, believing that, okay, more is going, and in some cases, more is not going to help, because the reaction of this with antibodies is basically preventing this product to be efficient. And that's what this test is doing today. This is just an enabler. So it's not only that these tests are good because they are unique and they are being launched in the marketplace, but by these tests we better understand how nutrition intervention would be part of the solution, and just to give you a sense of the kind of things that we as a company are confronted with. So again, that's the story. That's the story of what we have done. That's where we are. That's the capabilities we're building. We don't like to talk too much because we like to keep humble. We like to keep this for you. This is a great initiative for the company. You will not hear to me about billions or these kind of things, because when you create something, you never know how big will be at the end. And I'm convinced that you have asked, these guys of Larry Page or whatever, whether this Google thing they have invented will have the companies today. Probably nobody will ever thought. I'm not thinking that we're going to do that, so don't be excited about that. But the point is, it is better that we start and we have a good path towards something before committing of things that is going to create much noise and maybe it will never happen. But the point is we're building a transformational business, we're investing in creating something new. That's why we have taken this from the more nutrition traditional business in Nestlé and put it in a different company. And this chart that you have seen, I presented this in 2010 in September. And I'm not going to change. And what you're going to see is this small arrow is going to move here to demonstrate whether we are achieving that. That's basically what I'm trying to share with you, and then we'll be up to questions, comments, or remarks.